Good morning, everyone. It gives me great pleasure to be here. I welcome all of you. And it is truly a privilege for me to be here today, as I am sure it is for all of you, because we get to share the space with two of the greatest souls of our time, two of the greatest lights of our time. And really, for us, it is Rubaru with Roshni. Rubaru means face to face. Rubaru with Roshni, the two greatest lights of our time. There is absolutely no need for me to introduce His Holiness the Dalai Lama, who is such a great spiritual leader. He is someone who's always lived by love, by peace, by happiness. And through all the struggles and troubles of his life, he has remained steady and has been such an inspiration for all of us. Friends, like His Holiness, I think Dada needs no introduction. And one of the greatest thinkers of our time, someone who really brings love into our hearts and teaches us so much. I think one of the biggest things that I have got from Dada is love and a smile from him. And whenever I see him, my heart fills with joy. Dada, tell me, what is your prayer today? For all of us, what is your prayer today?
My prayer today was Lord, so bless me that I may help as many people as I can, in as many ways as I can, on as many occasions as I can. But if I cannot help someone, I must not harm anyone. That was simple prayer.
Thank you, Dada. Thank you so much. It was so wonderful to listen to you on all your thoughts. And each time that we listen to you, we get to learn so much from you. Thank you so much, Dada.
They were not my thoughts. They were his thoughts. They were coming from the back. And I was only voicing them. So credit goes to him, not to me.
I would now request His Holiness Dalai Lama to say a few words, and after that, I would like the honor to ask him some questions with which he can share his thoughts with us.
Firstly, of course, I feel great honor to participate your 95th happy birthday celebration. Since many occasions, I think many years, we know each other. Of course, this time your feet a little bit so difficult. Otherwise, it's the same. Particularly your eye, always very fresh, something. So, I'm very happy. That perhaps I think this time I think about 3 weeks. Firstly, Karnataka state, then here. So when I reach Bangalore, the first day, my program, visit, I can't remember, you see the different names. You see the one spiritual sort of organization. Of course, that had also I know since some time back. So I visited, they invited me. So I very much impressed that spiritual organization really, you see, taking care about thousands of children, school children. So they provide meal freely. And also I very much impressed. They develop some kind of some modern technology, you see, to cook a large portion of sort of meal, food, rice and some other vegetables. So I told there, the spiritual organization not only pray to God or some puja, but very actively serving humanity, and particularly see, these children. It's really wonderful. Now my last program here, another spiritual organization, totally dedicated about education and serving other. Now India, actually, I think over 3,000 years, many different spiritual traditions develop. These are homegrown different religious traditions. Then eventually, Zoroastrian from Persia came. Also Judaism. In Kuchini area, some sort of Jews. I think, of course, many part of India is a Jew community there, but I remember one time in Kuchini area, some Jews. And then the Parsi mainly concentrated in Bombay. And of course, Christianity come and very well settled. And Islam came, very well settled. And then later, another homegrown religion, that is Sikhism, very much in the spirit of non-sectarian. I understand Guru Nanak actually took pilgrimage to Mecca. So, now today, I think last several centuries, India truly become the home of all major world religious traditions live together. I always is telling people when I have opportunity to talk, I always pointed India is the example. Different religious tradition can live harmoniously. Not only some economic or political reasons, 1,000 years, that kind of practice is there. So since over billion populated nation, different religious traditions can live together harmoniously. So therefore, the rest of the world, where sometimes additional conflict in the name of religion is unnecessary for individual religious sort of tradition, for survival for that. The other religion, no threat. If you remain with spirit of oneness of spirituality. India, really, I think, I always telling India as an example of the concept of ahimsa, 1,000 years. With that, the tradition, harmony among different religious traditions. Of course, as you mentioned, occasionally some politicians and also some, I think, narrow-minded sort of religious people also sometimes create some problem pockets here and there. But overall, India is really wonderful. So now, meantime, I usually sort of expressing, now as a result of last 54 years, I remain in this country. So I myself consider as a son of India. There's a reason, sufficient reason. Firstly, you see, my brain, every cell of my brain filled by Nalanda thought. Since my childhood, 6, 7 years old, I start my study. All the books which I study, firstly, memorize. All these texts wrote by Nalanda master. So till I study. So whole my life is to study Nalanda thought. So my brain, every part of my brain filled by Nalanda thought. Then my physical, last 54 years, this physical survived by Indian dals, Indian rice, Indian chapati. Most cases, Northern Indian food, not South Indian food. So anyway, so physically, mentally, I really belong to this country. So I consider myself as a son of India. And then meantime, whenever I give talk, as I mentioned earlier, I always talk about ahimsa. Ahimsa is the act of compassion. Where love, compassion there, non-violence automatically come. And then religious harmony, these two things, wherever I talk, I always mention these things. So I consider as a messenger of India. Now, recent decades, I publicly expressing, I, as a messenger of India, quite active. So now, like you are my boss. So messenger level, quite active. So boss must be active. Sometimes, you see, frankly speaking, you see, religious leaders, see, they're a little bit isolated from the rest of the society, particularly younger generation, as you mentioned. Younger generation pay more attention about money, about sort of, what's it, the attractive, just materialistic life. Less sort of pay attention, less interest about deeper value. So the religious leaders now should take more active role to educate people. And then also, there's some drawbacks in this country, like caste system. Although constitution provided equal, but still, you see, some sort of bad habit. Sometimes you see poor people really suffer. So the religious leader, I think, should be active on this field. So I usually have some sort of critical view. So here you and the other day, and then also you see, of course, many other sort of spiritual leaders or spiritual organizations, they really actively sort of involve the social well-being, particularly sort of what's the education field. So I'm very, very happy, very, very impressed. Thank you. So, any spiritual organization sometimes you see heavily depend on one single guru, a single person. I think of course, initiative must come from one single person. But then these sort of activities or responsibility must carry by because of the group of people, or the people themselves. So that, I think, so those, the Guruji's follower, you already sort of carrying his sort of wish, his spirit. That's very, very important. So, that's all. Some question now.
Thank you.
Will you come and sit here?
No, I'll sit here only. I'll sit here. Your Holiness, tell me, what is happiness for you and how does one achieve it?
What?
Happiness.
Happiness.
What does happiness mean to you and how can we achieve it?
Happiness, I think, in the real sense, is deep satisfaction. Not necessarily sort of experience, pleasure experience, or joyful experiences, but rather deep satisfaction. So then, I always was telling people, including animals or insects, do not want suffering and want to overcome pains or suffering. And every sentient being have every right to overcome suffering, problem. Every sentient being have every right to achieve happy life. Then we human being, now today population, 7 billion population. All 7 billion human beings, same human being, physically, mentally, emotionally. And also, you see, 7 billion human beings everyone have equal right to achieve happy life. Sometimes I feel, I explain, the very purpose of our life is for happiness. Reason our life depends on hope. Once one individual really lost hope, then that very mental attitude shortened their life. So hope means something good. So our life depends on hope. Hope means something good. So therefore, we have very purpose of our life, I feel, happiness, satisfaction. Now there are 2 levels, sensorial level and deeper mental level. Sensorial level, same with other animals, dogs, cats, birds, same. But mental level, because of this marvelous human intelligence, now there is differences. The intelligence is actually source of both satisfaction, joyfulness, or calmness of mind, peaceful mind, or disturbed mind, destructive emotion, or unhappiness. So intelligence, just intelligence, sometimes you see create more sort of, for example, more sort of ambition, more ambition, more sort of what's the unrealistic sort of desire. Because of that, a lot of worry, a lot of stress, sometimes even suicide. Less intelligence, without immediate threat, they remain happy. So therefore, because of this great brain, marvelous brain, our intelligence, so sometimes we human being, physically very comfortable, all the facility there, but mentally very unhappy. Some of my friend, I think a billionaire, very rich, but mentally very unhappy, deep inside, lonely, helpless, too much stress. So that now scientists also now begin to realize mental attitude is the key factor for happy life, healthy body. So therefore, now we must pay now modern sort of way of life. I think too much oriented about material value. And I just mentioned before we coming here, the very existence of modern education, very much oriented about material value. So that's why there are people, very educated people, but unhappy, sometimes troublemaker. Most of the troublemaker, I think as far as their education is concerned, I think very educated people. I think sometimes less education may be more honest. Very smart here. Everything calculate. What I get benefit from here, from there. Then that very intelligent sort of mind sometimes create more suspicion, more distrust. And then that brings frustration, that brings anger, like that. So therefore, now every human being, say on this, 7 billion human being, I think now time come, think more seriously. The ultimate source of happiness, meaningful life, is not just education, but here warm-heartedness. We already cultivated by our mother, as you mentioned. Already so, I mean, we experienced from our mother. My own mother, villager, no education, illiteracy, just a farmer, but very, very kind mother. So I think, no time to stop. So, see, my mother is a very, very kind lady. Not only much love towards her own children, but also other people, particularly sometimes some beggars coming from neighbors. Sometimes she cry. Very kind-hearted. So, amount of compassion, love I have. Firstly, I received from my mother. I think I always telling people when I give talk. I think here, for example, every people outwardly very smart, but in deep insight, I think those individuals who received maximum affection from one's own mother at a young age, I think in deep insight, more self-confidence. As a result, less fear and more happier. Yeah. Those individuals, outwardly very successful, but in deep insight, those people who at the young age less they care from less affection from parent, particularly from mother. Sometimes, you see, without a mother. And then Worst case, sometimes abuse. Then such people, deep inside, always fear, sense of insecurity. So therefore, the affection from our mother, or love provided our mother, is the key factor. This one thing that the Guruji already mentioned that. Then I just mentioned before we coming here, the important, when we gradually grown up, then too much influence from environment. Environment, now for example, the Pune sort of city, a lot of advertising, only jewel or some sort of cosmetics or some dress like that. No advertising about warm-heartedness. I think it may be difficult to dispose warm-heartedness. I don't know. If just a big heart, that also may not know. So in any way, the society, whole society, our life becoming very, very materialistic life. Material value is necessary for this physical comfort, physical survival. When we look, poverty, even within India, oh, those people who really struggle their day-to-day life, they are sort of because of the simple meal. And then frustration always there. And easily develop violence. So we must overcome poverty. Meantime, material value alone will not bring us genuine, happy life or meaningful society. Logically, matter cannot sort of give us mental peace. Material only provide us physical comfort. So as I mentioned earlier, physical level experiences, mental level experiences. So now modern education, we must find out where. We must try to introduce in more existing modern education about moral ethics. That means the value of compassion, not just few sentences, but the systematic way to educate about mind, about emotion. Then the different sort of, the act of these different emotions. Then one emotion never come independently due to many other emotions, many other factors. So we must have fuller knowledge about map of mind, map of emotion. Then we can educate people. Now, such as anger immediately destroy our peace of mind and destroy peaceful family, peaceful community. Then just mere knowledge about how bad anger will not go away. So we must know what are the causes, immediate causes of emotion, the anger emotion. There are other emotions. So, like take care about the physical health, we must know the whole body system. Then we can deal our physical health. So similarly, mental health also, you see, we have to need the fuller knowledge about emotion, about mind. So this not necessarily as a religious matter. This is an academic subject. So India, you already mentioned secular ethics. In the West, some my friend, some Muslim, some Christian, they have little reservation about the word of secular. So they consider secular is a little bit sort of disrespect religion. according to Indian understanding, never, as you mentioned. Secular means respect all religions, no preference, this religion, that religion. And also secular, respect non-believer. Now today, out of 7 billion human beings, over 1 billion human beings are formally, they express they are non-believer. So quite a big portion of 7 billion, out of 7 billion human beings. So these also human beings, quite important part in the society. And also these non-believer, as a human being, they also have right to achieve happy life. So we must find out education, moral ethics to those non-believer. If we try to teach moral ethics based on religious faith, how can tell these people? And also secular education field, sometimes difficult. For example, India, multi-religious nation, secular ethic based on one religion, then what religion? Difficult. So there's no other choice except secular education about moral ethics, secular moral ethics through secular way. So since you very much involved about education, the many members really, you see, they committed for education. So I want to share, you see, these points with you. If you ask me what kind of sort of kasoda program, then my answer, I don't know.
Thank you.
I have no sort of modern education. Therefore, I don't know. I only have critics, not answer. So those educated people or people who involved in education, think more sort of discussion, how to introduce in modern education field about moral ethics entirely based on secular principle. So that I want to tell you. So happiness, more sort of satisfaction, deeper satisfaction. Now here, relax. Actually, they relax very much related with mental thinking. Relax, animals type of relax, not good, not much meaning. Relax, real relax means surrounded by problem. Meantime, your intelligence level, yes, realize this is a problem. I have to solve. I have to face this problem. But the deeper level, emotional level, still calm. So that is the genuine relaxation. No matter what sort of external sort of environment, but you use your intelligence and warm-heartedness, strength of warm-heartedness and holistic view from intelligence. Combine these two things, you have the ability to keep in a complete relax. So that gives you satisfaction. That gives you healthy mind, healthy body, and your life become much happier. And wherever you live, surroundings are also, including animals. If Dadaji have some pet cats or dogs, when Dadaji is sort of that kind of compassionate person, so all these animals also, you see, receive immense sort of benefit. If someone feeding pets, but without much sort of affection, then even those dogs or cats also, you see, sometimes when you see they, because of the father or the owner, or sometimes the mother also, I think when coming that room, there has a steps, sound come. I think some dogs may run away. Some cats more run away. My own experience now, when I was very young, I think 10 years old, one small parrot. One of my sort of friend, of course later he also taught me writing. So he visited to me. Every time he carries some nuts, then that parrot he gives some nuts. Then eventually, you see, that small parrot, you see, become very friendly with that person. When the person coming from I'd say, a distance, the sound of the walk, so parrot already some special sort of expression. And then when you see after sort of because of some nut, and then his finger through sort of cage, his finger put inside, then parrots go like that. The parrot. And sometimes there's a parrot, when his finger remain in front of his tummy, that parrot would big way. Sometimes you see some kasota. No. I think some food, I think, come out. See, as a sort of, or say the expression or trying to show gratitude. So I develop a little bit of jealousy. So I also want that kind of attitude from that small parrot. So I, not out of real compassion, out of real sort of affection, but out of jealousy, I give some nut. The parrot clearly realized my motivation is not that sincere. So that parrot, took nut, never show friendliness towards me. Then after some time, I lost my patience, so I use little strict, some punishment. And since then, never reconcile. So only thing, forgiveness.
Yeah.
It's the only way. Now perhaps I may add something, compassion. There are two levels. One, compassion, mainly, as I briefly mentioned, biological factor. That compassion is actually biased because it much is oriented about others' attitude. So someone nice towards you, we can develop compassion or sense of concern. As soon as their attitude change, then no longer that kind of sense of affection. So that is biased and also much mixed with attachment. Every emotion, too much attachment, it always becomes biased. Now that, the biological factors sort of affection, take as a seed. Then through education, through awareness, use human intelligence, that compassion then further sort of develop. Through training, through awareness, not just biological factor, through training, through awareness, then that sort of compassion, affection, then not oriented about others' attitude towards you, but the people or anyone themselves, as a sort of sentient being, they also want happy life, do not want suffering, and meantime passing through some difficulties, so develop sense of concern of their well-being. irrespective whether their attitude towards you or negative or positive. So that trained compassion, then unbiased, can extend towards your enemy. Now here important is we must make distinction. Action or attitude and the person. As far as the person is concerned, we must keep genuine sense of concern or sense of love. As far as their attitude is concerned, we have to look. If their attitude unjust, right, or some wrongdoing, or take some advantage on you unjustly, look, study the situation. If that sort of the wrong action is not much serious, then okay, forget. If that wrong action is something very serious, then out of sense of concern of their well-being, you have to take appropriate countermeasure to stop that action. So here, now make distinction, actor and action. We have to oppose. Action is concerned. Actor is concerned as a human brother, sister. We must keep compassion. So, the real sense of forgiveness, not let anger, hatred towards that actor. So that is real meaning of forgiveness. Forgiveness does not mean whatever they carry some wrongdoing, you just accept. Not that way. Clear. So our intelligence quite sophisticated. So we must make distinction, difference of reality, different circumstances.
I think His Holiness has touched upon a number of things which is very, very important. I think what we can learn from this is, one, how important happiness is to all of us, love and affection is to all of us, and happiness comes from love and affection, and how it is very important for us to inculcate good morals and values in our education system starting from childhood. These are some very important things that His Holiness has said. In fact, about happiness, a very simple villager once told me that happiness is the only thing that you get when you give it. Now, this was a very big thought for me. How can I be happy? How can you be happy? This simple villager told me, you can be happy if you give happiness. It is the only thing that you get when you give. And I thought it was a very amazing thing that he had told me. I got to learn so much from him. That simple villager happens to be Anna Hazare, by the way. Your Highness, you spoke about love and compassion. And I have a story to share. I completely agree with what you said about love and compassion. And I don't know whether I've told you all the story, but let me say it again. When I was very small, I used to play tennis. And I used to play tournaments in tennis. And I was a very good tennis player. And I used to win all the matches. And my mother, who was very loving to me, when I used to come home after the match, she would always ask me, did you win? Did you lose? Mostly I would win, so I would say I won. So she would be very happy and she would hug me. Then after 5 minutes, she would tell me, the boy who lost, he also must have reached home now. And his mother must have asked him, did you win or did you lose? And he would have told his mother, I lost. So right now, his mother must be feeling sad. Now this was a very big lesson for me. My mother, without realizing it, was actually teaching me one of the biggest lessons of compassion is to be able to think for the other person. The child who I played with, who I might have defeated in a game of match, she reminded me that he must have reached home. His mother must be feeling sad now. From that day onwards, I still tried my level best in a match, but when I played the game with the opponent, he was a human being like me. He was not someone other than me. And that was one big lesson that I learned of compassion from my mother. Your Holiness, I have a question for you. You know, sometimes what happens is we give a lot of love to someone who we love. We give a lot of compassion, we give a lot of caring to the person whom we love. But that person doesn't return it, that person doesn't reciprocate it. In such a situation, what can I do? What does one do? So we may give love to somebody, we may give a lot of caring to somebody, but that person may not return that to us. What can we do?
There's distinction, as I mentioned earlier. One level of love, much sort of oriented about others' attitude. That is not genuine, sort of what's the kasota. No, not genuine, I think, standard of love or compassion. So genuine sort of standard, the standard sort of love, compassion. It's not oriented about others' attitude. So no matter what their attitude, still they are a human being.
Yeah.
Still they are a sentient being. So, as far as a human being is concerned, still human brothers.
We should love them and give them compassion.
We must sort of have sense of concern of their well-being. Now, for example, I think here a little sort of example. This is not a political statement. You see, when you see some sort of Chinese communist officials on the spot, much sort of torture or bully Tibetan. Then, you see, we deliberately try to not develop anger, try to keep compassion towards these people, as a human being. That does not mean we also accept their wrongdoing. We criticize, we respond to these sort of negative, unjust sort of activities or actions. We're opposing that, but without anger. Actually, there is sufficient reason. You see, from the Buddhist viewpoint, of course, we believe, as you also mentioned, you see, the karma. These people, you see, harming other people. So they committed wrong karma, negative karma. So they have to face the negative consequences. So there is sufficient reason to feel concern of their well-being. So out of that motivation, you should try to make clear that's wrong. Criticize them. Not out of anger, not out of hatred, like that. That we can do.
Yeah. That's true. That's very true.
May I say a word?
Yes.
If the other person does not respond, you double your love.
Double the love. And if he still does not respond,
double it.
Gamble.
Love is limitless. You can give.
Gamble on your love. You'll always win.
You will win, finally.
Right. Wonderful.
Keep on doubling.
I think here maybe the comment from one monk may not be appropriate, but here, marriage, love, marriage with love. So just attraction about external beauty, not sufficient. Love towards internal beauty. Once you realize internal beauty That is, you see, sort of humility, or some kind of sort of a real compassionate or sensible person. Then that sort of awareness also brings respect. So, marriage with, or say, on the basis of inner beauty, automatically with respect, then after marry, a little quarrel doesn't matter. Still, the marriage can live long-lasting marriage. Hurriedly marry without knowing real sort of inner world, less inner beauty, only from physical, external sort of beauty. Marry, even after a few weeks, or quarrel will start. So here, the inner beauty, I often used to telling people when I give talk, or the ladies, particularly young ladies, you see, you spend a lot of money about your external beauty. Good. But you must pay more attention about your inner beauty. That's more important. I also, you see, in 60s, one Tibetan government official, monk official, eventually he disrobed, and I know him very well. So his wife, not that much sort of attractive. So I tease him, oh, your wife, not that much attractive. And then he responded me, yes, external beauty is concerned, not much attractive, but internal beauty is very good. He told me like that. So that's wonderful. Then I have nothing to say.
That's right. Thank you, Your Holiness. Thank you. Thank you, Dada. It is so wonderful talking to both of you and to listen to your thoughts. It's been such a learning experience for me, as I'm sure it has been for all of you. And I really feel privileged that I have had this opportunity to have this conversation, to be rubaru with His Holiness and yourself, Dada. And I feel blessed and lucky and happy. Thank you so much.
To ask His Holiness to give us a small teaching which we can treasure in our hearts.
Sure. Why don't you tell him yourself? Why don't you tell him yourself?
Give us a small teaching which we can treasure in our heart.
Dada is saying, give us a small teaching which we can treasure in our heart.
Just a few words.
I don't know. Usually I expressing my religion is love, compassion. That is common. All major religious tradition. Those religions which believe Creator, those religions, no concept of Creator, but doesn't matter. All major religious tradition, they carry message of love. In order to strengthen love, practice of love, you need some kind of sort of defense. So, practice of tolerance, practice of forgiveness, practice of contentment, practice of self-discipline. These also come. So these, like fences, fence of practice of love. So you see, all religions, all major religious tradition talks these principles: love, compassion, forgiveness, tolerance, self-discipline, contentment. Too much greed, sometimes harming other, cheating other. So less greed. That means contentment. So I think essence, and then also you see these different philosophies, the philosophy itself, big contradiction. Even within Buddhist tradition, different school of thought there. Big contradictory sort of philosophy. All these contradictory philosophy within Buddhism taught by Buddha. So sometimes I jokingly telling people, contradictory philosophy taught by one single person, the Lord Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, not out of his own confusion. One day he taught this philosophy, next day different philosophy. He himself not very sure. No. Nor he deliberately tried to create more confusion among his disciples. No. Then why he taught contradictory philosophy? Among his disciples, there are people who have different mental disposition. So therefore, it is necessary to teach, to show different way of method, different way of philosophy. So then we can easily understand, to some people, the certain sort of philosophical views are much more effective. To some people, another sort of way of approach is much more effective. So all these different philosophies, when we find different philosophical views, then it is important to ask, what is the purpose of that different philosophical views? Purpose is same, to promote love, compassion. So therefore, love, compassion is the universal religion. And then also, as I already mentioned, secular ethics also is very much, very much about affection, sense of concern of others' well-being. Now here, perhaps I may add, I think we really need promotion of sort of clear sort of awareness, oneness of humanity. Today's reality, environment problem, and the population now already 7 billion. Within end of this century, population will be 10 billions. So, and then natural disaster also will increase. Nature's resources also, you see now some, for example, drinking water, these also you see some problem. So we have to now, I think time come, we have to act as a one humanity. You see, too much emphasis, my nation, my continent, their continent, I think that outdated. I always see telling people, when I give talk, firstly, I consider myself as another human being. Now, for example, here, when I give talk, when I sort of discuss with you, if I emphasize, I'm Tibetan, I'm Buddhist, or perhaps if I too much emphasis, I'm His Holiness Dalai Lama, then that mental attitude itself creates some barrier. What use? When I meet you, I consider myself as one of you, same human being, as I mentioned earlier, emotionally. So, mentally, if you ask scientist, brain specialist, any differences with different religion, with different sort of races, different color, or educated or uneducated, or wealthy or poor, no differences here. We are same. So, wherever I talk, I always consider myself as another human being. That, to me, that gives me inner relaxation. If I too much emphasis, I'm Buddhist, I'm Dalai Lama, then more stress. I must be very, very careful. So that's that kind of attitude is, you see, source of tension, source of sort of what's the fear. No use. So I always see, consider, firstly, I am one of the 7 billion human beings. Then, second level, I am one of the believer. I am Buddhist. Then third, I am Tibetan. These are. Then the most important is first level, we are same human being. So we must educate oneness of 7 billion human beings. That's very, very important.